This is my review of Ubuntu 17.10. Hello everyone, it's a Linux user, helping you to install, configure and use Linux. If you want to learn more about Linux, please subscribe and click on the bell notification, so you won't miss any new video. I usually don't pay attention to .10 releases of Ubuntu, but Ubuntu in comparison to what Unity delivered. And here come these downgrades. There is no global menu by default, and it seems like there is no way to add the global menu extension. This is because GNOME global menu extension doesn't work with Wayland yet. The only way to use this global menu extension is to switch to Xorg from Wayland. But if you want to use Wayland, you have to live without the global menu and have some wasted space in the top. Another bad thing, which I didn't notice immediately, but after some use, I really started to feel the need of it. There is no Show Desktop button. Maybe it is not a popular feature nowadays and nobody uses it, but I like to clean my desktop by minimizing all apps with one click. The next bad thing is again related to this new dock. When you click on the icon of any app, this app doesn't minimize. It was the most annoying drawback in Unity, and it was the major reason I could not use Unity full time. You may say there is a minimize button on the window, use it. But it is less convenient. It is small, not easy to aim, and if I want to check some apps for a moment, I just want to click on it, see what's happening in the app, and click again to minimize it. But I cannot do that with this dock. I need to move my mouse to this button, which now very far away in the right corner, and click on it. When I used Unity, I had a workaround. I used a custom keyboard shortcut to minimize windows, but I still would prefer to use my mouse. The last bad thing, before we move to the ugly things, is that the dock shows apps from all desktops. For example, if I open Calendar, and I don't want it to take space in this dock and this desktop, I move it to another desktop. But its app icon is still present on all desktops, and it is active. The same applies to Alt-Tab switch. Imagine having dozens of apps open. Even if you distribute them into different desktops, you would still need to scroll through all of them to find the one you need. Seriously, it is just a disaster. Now I would like to show you some less critical issues, which don't affect the use of the desktop too much, but they are still desirable to improve or change. The first problem is this one. When you click on LibreOffice Maximize button to minimize it, it collapses to this small window. I first thought it was a bug, but I quite quickly realized that it was just a small window, and it can be manually expanded. After this, the Maximize button works correctly. The next ugly aspect is that the Show Application menu is at the bottom. If you ever used Unity, you probably remember that the menu button was in the top left corner. Now we have activities here in the top left corner, and the application button at the bottom. You actually can use activities to launch an app as well. You just need to type its name and press enter. But if you want to scroll through all available apps, you need to click on this menu. Honestly, I think it makes some sense to separate these two options, but during my use it was confusing. I used to click on activities pretty quickly, because it is how you interact with the system most of the time. But when I wanted to open the menu, I would still click on activities. It became a habit. Then you cannot click somewhere else to go back. You need to either select an open app or go back and click on the activities again. You can also press escape. And after that, I would go down and open the menu. Maybe I need time to get used to all these features, but I prefer to have one single menu. Even the vanilla GNOME desktop was more intuitive for me in this regard. The next ugly thing is that window buttons on the right. I know, it is debatable, and users coming from Windows would probably prefer it this way. but buttons on the left are way more efficient. All the elements in this desktop are located on the left. The mouse pointer spends most of its time here. Why do I have to move it far to the right? Maybe someone will disagree with me, but the position of Windows buttons on the left is what I consider a right position. When I switched to Linux, I also felt uncomfortable with these buttons on the left. But after some time, I realized how convenient it was. And the last three ugly things. You still may get occasional glitches with Wayland. I have seen some screen tearing issues when I open Firefox. Unfortunately, I was not recording at that time and I was not able to reproduce that issue. But Wayland is still pretty new and some small problems may arise. Another problem I faced was the user settings dialog freezes often. I have seen the same problem in Fedora, so probably it is a GNOME problem, not Ubuntu. The user settings are not visited often, so it is an unpleasant problem, but it's not critical. And the last small issue, there is no 32-bit version anymore. I personally think it is the right time to abandon the 32-bit ISO. But I know, this may affect some users, so I decided to mention it too. Ubuntu 17.10 brings many changes, but for the end user, most of these changes, unfortunately, don't improve anything compared to the previous release of Ubuntu with the Unity desktop. Ubuntu 17.10 is a transitional release, as most of the .10 releases of Ubuntu, so it is expected to be not perfect. I hope most of the downsides I mentioned in this video will be addressed in the next release of Ubuntu. On the positive side, I was already very impressed with the performance of Wayland in this release. So, the next release, Ubuntu 18.04, will be very exciting. What is your opinion about Ubuntu 17.10? I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you for watching.
You want to create a stunning website. I've already done it with Wix. Let me show you how it's done. I mean, I'm gonna need to put these. I can't see without them. Just go to Wix.com. There are loads of absurdly gorgeous templates to choose from. Guys, this could take a while. First things first, I can change the text. Okay, now for my favorite part. Right here, you can do whatever you want. No rules. I'm just gonna go out and say it. I look amazing here. I mean, I'm scrolling. There's no end. It's me all the way down. And you can see my Instagram feed on here. Look, someone had to save the day, guys. Pictures are nice, but you can show even more with the video. And if you've got a whole lot of videos, you can do this, you can move that, or even this. Check it out, guys. I don't think that looks half bad. You know what? It does all start with a stunning website.
Go to Wix.com to create your stunning website today.
Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to another video about Linux. So in today's video I'll be comparing Ubuntu and Linux Mint once again, except this time it's going to be Xenial Xerus and Linux Mint 18 Sarah. Man, I've been waiting for this for a while now, and I'm really excited, so here we go. Now, as far as hardware requirements go, things haven't changed much for Ubuntu, and for people who are new to it, it doesn't require a lot to actually run. You need about a 10 gigabyte hard drive space, and at minimum you just need about 256 megabytes of RAM. However, I highly recommend you go with a 1 gigabyte, as Ubuntu also recommends. Another thing, you'll be getting the GTK3 Toolkit series and also the Linux 4.4 kernel series. Now, for people who don't know and are new to Linux, or particularly new to Ubuntu, in the Linux world, there are several distributions, so many out there, but essentially there are a small amount of very central distributions that a lot of these derivatives came from. One of them, and one of the most popular, if not the most popular, is Debian. And Debian is sort of like the grandfather of one of the Linux OSs. And so Ubuntu comes from there, and that's where it gets a lot of its features, a good amount of its design, even though Canonical has changed a lot, and also gets a lot of its software from repositories and things like that. Also, for people who are new to Linux, every Linux operating system, almost every Linux operating system, has a certain design and a certain way it looks, like how you're seeing this design right here. And this is actually very different from most other Linux operating systems you'll see. And that's because this has a specially designed desktop environment, which was made by Canonical for Ubuntu, and that's called Unity. Now, for people who are more familiar with Ubuntu, unfortunately, you're still going to be getting Unity 7. However, you will be getting the updated Unity 7.4, which came with some improvements that I'll cover in a second. And also, you have the option to try and test Unity 8, which has come a lot farther and is expecting to be released with 16.10. Now, as far as features go, there are a lot of things like new software, updated versions of things like Firefox and LibreOffice, and also new hardware stacks, and of course updated kernels, drivers, and a new version of Xorg. And of course, a lot of your basic applications that you'd always have before. And for people who are new to Ubuntu or Linux, it has a lot of pre-installed applications that will really come in handy, and so you don't have to worry about, in many more advanced Linux distributions or Linux distributions that aren't as popular, being able to worry if you have the apps you need to do everything you like to do, like if you were on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. So you're pretty much good to go from as soon as you install it out the box. You are ready to go. Now, for people who are familiar with Ubuntu and had a previous version of this, there are a few changes that have been made, aside from under the hood, but actually on the hood. And that is, one is that the online search has been removed from the dashboard. I really love that they did this, and I think a lot of people, if not most people who use Ubuntu, are fans of this. Now, one of the most desired changes, and changes that I personally have loved that they finally did in Ubuntu, is that for the dashboard, which is pretty much like the start menu, or whatever the main places you go to look at all your applications and search for stuff and all that, they took away the online search. Now, they didn't take it away permanently, they just disabled it by default, so that no longer do you feel like you have this incredibly laggy search dashboard, or not only do you feel spammy, and I also felt that it was very spammy, and I'm very glad that they made this decision. Another big change that they made was that the Ubuntu software store is no longer the